Welcome, dear students. This session is about main stages in the development of the history of English language, division of early stages. Well, I hope and expect by the end of this session, you would have a clear understanding of what do we mean by the early stages in the history of English language. My dear students, on the screen, you can see a chart. This shows the early times. It is very interesting that in this division, the Old English times and the Middle English times are all brought together in this early stage. So, what I can say is that the early stages can be further divided into Indo-European, to Germanic, to Old Frisian stage, then Old English stage, that is Anglo-Saxon stage, and then Middle English stage. If you look at the other side of the slide, actually you can, through these arrows, you can see the influences that affected or that played an important role, in determining, the characteristics of all these three, stages. So Celts and Romans from the Indo-European, Germanic, and Old Frisian times, Anglo-Saxons and Jutes, the Vikings from the Old English times, that makes the Anglo-Saxon time actually, the Normans and French and their influence, during the Middle English times. Well, my dear students, in fact, when we just focus on the Old English times, it is from 449 to 1100. The recorded history of the English language begins not on the continent where we know its speakers once lived, but in the British Isles where they eventually came and settled. During the period when the language was spoken in Europe, it is known as Pre-Old English, for it was only after the English separated from their cousin languages, the cousin Germanic languages, and they shifted to England and they got settled themselves there, that a distinct variety of their language was recognized. In fact, English is a West Germanic language that originated from Anglo-Frisian dialects brought to Britain in the mid of 5th century till the 7th century. And it was brought by Germanic invaders and settlers from what is now northwest Germany, West Denmark, and Netherlands. If we move on to the next stage of this part of the early stages, the next division of that is the Middle English period that starts from 1100 and ends somewhere towards the end of 1500. The beginning and ending dates of the Middle English period, though these are very arbitrary, but actually they are referring to 2 points in time when ongoing language changes were taking place. This includes grammatical changes that we find at the beginning of this time period, that is the Middle English period that began in 1100, and the pronunciation changes that we can find towards the end of this period, that is 1500. In fact, the term middle itself indicates that the period was a time of transition, a transition between, the Old English and the early modern English that was followed by the Middle English times. The beginning of this period is marked with the Normans' conquest of England in 1066, replacing the native English nobility with Anglo-Normans and thus introducing Norman French as the language of the government in England. And in fact, towards the end of this period, that is in 1476, a very important event that we need to notice is of, the invention of printing press that was brought to England by William Caxton in 1476. This changed the dimensions of the spread of English and its nature in the coming times.